Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 527, and today we're doing battle with Norra, Yuumi, Fizz, Yordles, and Arms. And so, ever since our break, our hiatus, due to sickness and due to the holidays, we've really been coming out and trying to attack these Morgana Elder Dragon style of decks. And they all have a fairly similar kind of game plan, right? They're going to play a couple of bad units in the early game. Maybe they'll play a Morgana on turn 5, but then from turn 6 forward, they're only going to be playing one singular big unit. And so there's a lot of different ways to kind of attack that style of strategy. In our previous video, we were looking at Kale Teemo with the kind of engine style of width, right? And so you're playing the Yordles package. You have the unit boosters with things like Yordle Explorer and Yordle Captain. You can very easily flood the board with the cost reduction coming from the Bandle City Mayor, and you could just build up this board of very big units to where you don't really care if your opponent kills one of your units, right? Because everything is giving kind of an incremental advantage. So a single vengeance or a single removal spell doesn't really hamper your game plan. It's not like opponent just played vengeance on our set. They're playing their vengeance on like a random Bandle City Mayor or something. And so that was kind of angle number one that we took towards attacking the meta. This is the one that I've been kind of more in tune with, which is just playing champion strength. Now, I know we aren't playing champion strength in this deck today, but the same kind of idea applies. If your opponent is going to have like a maximum of 3 units on the board, you cast champion strength on a full board, that's 12 damage without counting any of your units' existing stats. Very easy way to come in for 15, 18, 20 points of damage all within a singular attack. And so that's the idea that we're looking to come out with here. You're able to generate a bunch of board width with just all of these non-interactive elusives. Then we're going to cast Yordles at Arms and OTK our opponents down from 20. And so the champion strength is the kind of more recent way to do that, playing something like Janna Teemo champion strength. But I've been kind of interested in circling back and taking a look at Yordles and Arms. As more cards are printed, more ways come about to activate these style of abilities, it's worth going back and taking a look at the Yordles and Arms and seeing if enough new printings haven't happened to make this multi-faction thing really work out. And so, as far as things go here, trying to activate our Yordles and Arms, we very easily hit our core factions right. It's no challenge whatsoever to hit Bandle City and PNZ, but we do have a handful of other ways to try and get up to 4 factions. We have a small number of Bilgewater units within the deck between Fizz and the Octo Adventurer, a handful of ways to generate Ionia coming out of the Bandle Commando. We have Yuumi within a pinch, and then the Bandle City Mayor to potentially come out and generate some additional multi-faction units. And then whatever the hell Norra decides to give to us. And so at the end of the day, we do have a lot of ways to activate the Yordles and Arms. It can be very critical to actually get that 4 factions onto the board, but at the end of the day, it's not a must-do kind of thing. Otherwise, we're functioning very similarly to the Teemo Yuumi Elusives decks that are currently running around. We have that same collection of Elusives within here between Acorn, Commando, Kelp Maiden, Skip, and Augmented Clockling. And then we have the kind of usual suspects in terms of damage. Heroic Refrain being the main way to deal damage, getting 4 damage in for 3 mana, but then a handful of blowbacks, Mystic Shots, and Bandled Tellstones to get those last remaining points of damage in. And so that is it. That's the deck. That's what we're doing battle with today. But before the battles begin, you know what we got to do? We got to pay that pay-to-win price. And today, it's going to be Heroic Refrain. This one surprises me. I've played a bunch of Elusives in recent days, and I've been really happy with the Heroic Refrain. It's just never found its way premium. But see if we can't use that to grab a couple of OTKs today. Maybe we'll double Heroic Refrain for 8 damage. Get some big wins in like that. See if it feels pretty good. Alright, nonetheless, game 1 up and at it, up against Morgana Mordekaiser. We'll hang on to our 2-drops here so we can start trying to attack as early as possible. See if he's able to come down and remove some of these early. It should be pretty tough to stop the Bandle Commandos. I suspect we should be able to get an attack in with this on turn 2, given that the opponent's cheap removal just tends to be hate spikes. And so I think it's a pretty safe assumption that these Commandos are going to get a strike in here in the early game. But right, we did pick up the Yordles in arms here. Helps get us pretty close, right? We've got the Bandle City here, the Ionia coming out of the Outcat. There's a bunch of P and Z cards within here, and so we really just got to find that one remaining faction to try and finish it off. But let's add in the Outcat. I don't suspect we're going to be getting in for too much ground-based damage within this, but I still would like to go ahead and get the big boy off the board if we can. No reason to just take a bunch of damage here for free.
Best mama is the beast mama.
Alright, let's continue to get some more Elusives on the board. It's a bit unfortunate here. It's like I really wish we had the ability for the double heroic refrain on the turn to try and fight through a hate spike, but it's just not in the cards up to this point. Now that he's dropped down to 1 mana, I'm happy enough to go ahead and ensure that we get these extra points in. So we'll come in for that little 8-piece nugget, take opponent down to 11, see if we can't dodge a Morgana on this upcoming turn.
No one is beyond my reach. No.
Alright, so he's played the spell thing. It kind of is what it is. I have to assume he's going to hook the Inquisitor into one of our Elusives down here. So let's just drop an Outcat. Ooh, what do we think about just passing? What do we do this? Let's just play the suppression and pass. Let him go ahead and dig in the hooks, and then if he passes back to us, fine, whatever. But I think that we can, pretty reasonably get some more Elusives on board this turn and not have to waste our mana. There's an idea here to where we should have just completely passed, drop the Augmented Clockling, and then on the next turn, look to play the Suppression and the Yordles in arms, but it's kind of out there. How did we hit the 4th region? Did I miss something with this? I'm not complaining, but if you've played cards from 4 separate regions, I don't know what BNZ, Pandal City, Ionia. Yeah. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. And so a touch unfortunate with the mana. We can't get the Clockling down, but how good is this if we say play Yordles in arms for 6 damage? So we get 6 from the Yordles in arms. 7, 8. That's pretty close to a lethal. I think we can just run it out. I'm gonna keep the mana behind for this this heroic refrain, but you got to assume something like right now is gonna get hate spiked. Yep. The big one will be whether or not we get hit with the vengeance. So much for playing spells, am I right? Who would want to do that anyways? Alright, so we'll get him down to 3. I think we should still be safe going into this next turn. I'm just not... Well, what do we need? Acorn doing the work and cheapening up the suppression, huh? We just need 7 mana next turn. Let's just pass. If he's going to have something weird to get a different... like, if he plays Mordekaiser. Like, can we beat Mordekaiser? Someone out there could have more easily done that math, am I right? We're 1 mana short? That's a bummer. Well, we still shouldn't be dying this next turn. Should be able to drop the suppression and the blowback next round. Ideally. Hopefully, right? Do they have any fast speed ways to gain health? I don't think that they do. I don't think so. I say it wouldn't be crazy to think that he's going to drop another curse this round. Shit, did we fuck this up? Not getting the thing out of our hand fast enough? There's this 9 and 4, 13. We can't get to 13 next turn, right? We probably fucked this up not playing the suppression. Now we're just banked super heavy within this mana. F. If I tell you.
Home is just around the portal.
I think we fucked this up. Like, we could have gotten out of it if we just spent the mana in the correct way.
Off we go.
We still have the chance to maybe pull this off, but I didn't quite anticipate that working well enough. Oh, sure. Just do some dumb stuff and die. Just do some dumb stuff and die to elusives anyways. Alright, GG. So the punish didn't roll in, but I think it was like I had the vision to see the blowback kill. That's what I was trying to set up for, but just completely ruined it all the way through. Pretty standard. Pretty standard.
The portal. Ho.
Alright, GG though. On to the next one. What a fun concept in suppression. Can't play spells. Can't play spells. It's just I'm curious to see if we get anything out of the balance patch. Like, a balance patch should be coming out at the beginning of January, I think. What happened last year is Riot typically takes like an entire week off at the end of December. And, you know, with just the way things typically go in the corporate workspace, a lot of people just take a ton of vacation through December and the beginning of January, so nothing really gets done. And last year, they did like the hot fix to the Acolyte thing. I think that was when that happened, and then basically their patch notes right at the beginning of the year were just, you know, we made edits for worlds. We've been out of the office. We're just solidifying the notes and calling it a day. And I'm pretty certain that that was all that happened there. I expect the same thing to happen here, though. There'll be no balance changes. They'll just say, the world's patch hit, you know, enjoy it while it was there. And then they'll come in with the bigger update in the variety patch in February. But nonetheless, interesting space here. There's only one card to worry about. That card is going to be Gentleman's Duel. It doesn't strike me as being a guarantee in this place. But if he does have the Gentleman's Duel, we outright lose the game here. You know, just seeing the stats come down onto the Petricite Hound doesn't really indicate that that's what's about to happen. But he had it. Now we're just going to be tempoed out of this game. It doesn't matter that he's played Suppression. It doesn't matter that he's had the curses. It's just that Gentleman's Duel should be enough to just outright win it for the opponent. Because we do not have a hand that plays well into that space. Mage Seeker Jr. It's just not even good in this space. I don't see how people come out and play this deck and say, oh, Mage Seeker Jr. is so good here. Especially as you come down and you play another suppression, right? You put a suppression down next turn. This just goes up to costing 4 and the Junior doesn't do anything. It's so wild to me seeing all these terrible cards continue to see play. But alright, let's try and get our Yuumi up and running again. I'm going to put her onto the Octo Adventurer. You should be able to survive the deck's only removal spell, and he's only played the one copy of it at this point, so hopefully we can get that going. Just need more units. This is definitely the space to where you're wanting to build into the heroic refrain style of turns, and just don't have the guys to do it. But it's not a terrible blowback for the round. Again, this opposing deck doesn't have too much in the way of interactivity, and so it's like if he specifically has the Mage Seeker Challenger again in this space, then like congratulations, you had the perfect draw this game. But I think that there's a very real chance that we get to run out in here and just get like really good blowbacks throughout the course of this game. So I'm going to discard the Explorer's Blunder and one Eye of the Storm. We're never going to spend all of the mana that would come from an Eye of the Storm, so I think this is okay. Now, I was ideally going to be able to blow back into the Broadwing that's going to hook our Bandle Commando. But I think getting that big boy off of the board is probably enough to be happy with. Alright, so still no Morganas up to this point. Even if he does have one, we should still be able to heroic or pay the Morgana price and then get the heroic refrains down on the acorns. We got a 10-piece nugget rolling in. Maybe drop him to 3. Seems pretty good with blowback in hand. Must have picked up the other gentleman's duel. Okay, as long as we aren't running into like Galio, I think we should be in pretty good shape. Alright, guy, I guess. I didn't be lethal here, right? We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 6 is 14. Assuming we block Galio with the Owlcat and he hooks our big boy out of combat. He's got other ideas with the Fearsome. We can at least fight through it with the Eye of the Storm and the Heroic Refrain and the like, but this is not ideal. Got the flip along the way as well. Don't think we have enough to fight through. Oh, we played the wrong card. We should have played the Eye of the Storm. I don't think we would have been able to get enough blockers on board anyways. But that was certainly not the right one. Okay, GG. Still exceptionally happy with how that game went. He literally drew perfect the entire way. And I think we got through it without misplaying too hard, right? We didn't we didn't miscount any of the suppressions along the way. And we're still like, again, it doesn't really matter what you're up against if they get that massive tempo burst on turn 3 of the game with the Gentleman's Duel. It just kind of is what it is. All right, this deck. Oh, it's the Shyvana version this time. Sure thing. So let's get rid of the Mystic Shot. I think. Want to get rid of Kelp Maidens? We should probably hang on to the unit. We're definitely leading off with Norra on 2. Now it's our complaints from the previous game are a much different story than playing against the Shyvana deck. The Shyvana deck typically plays 8 different strikes, and so if it's actually coming down and hitting with a strike, it's very common to just be like, oh yeah, I bet he's got it, you know? It's not strange whatsoever against this deck. Just the Galio deck only plays 3 strikes, and so their interactivity is just extremely limited. You don't have Challenger. Let's see how this goes. I think she should be safe, right? The Norra is safe from a single strike at this point, so he should be able to, say, like, add a unit like a Badger Bear or be able to play a strike, but not do both. I feel like Norra is pretty safe in this place. What we got here? The Rock Bear Shepherd. Let's see what kind of elusives we can get on the board.
Dragon blood, Demacian heart. Mama's home.
Gonna get that big old rock bear before you know it. That feels good. Fizz. Zero spells cast, just what you love to see with the Fizz when he's ready to roll into town.
The dragon's close.
All right, random dragon guy, sure thing. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Shyvana pick up Challenger or something for this round. Like, all of our units are not going to survive this turn. I think that's probably pretty safe to say. It just, he has to have a Shyvana for a confront or an actual confront or a strike at this point. This is the problem you run into with the Shyvana deck as far as units go. Right, he spent 2 mana on Dragon Allegiant. It's very challenging for him to actually have another dragon at this point that he can actually cast. He's probably got like 4 dragons in his hand, but as far as the dragon he can physically cast goes, that's a much different story. Here's the confront. Okay. I'm surprised to see the Allegiant come down first, though. There's not a ton of units that it should be capable of searching up that you can play. So how do we feel about this? We have the second Yuumi in hand. We can get the takedown on Shyvana if we want it, but I think I'm more interested in just trying to kill him with Elusives at this point. We're going to be a little bit short on damage, but I'm like, what if we say just like projectile onto Bandle Commando, shoot the Fleet Feather Tracker, we have our 2 Elusives there, and then we can still play like Fizz and the Octo Adventurer. We just really need a Yordles in arms. Okay. Give up on the Norra, though. And I noticed this earlier today. I don't know if this is always how it's worked, but like Yuumi is costing, with Bandle City Mayor on the board, Yumi's costing 3 to attach and 2 to play. I thought you could always attach her for the reduced price, but doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Here's our prank. There we go. So who do we want here? I think we probably just want to take the +1 cost on the Cloud Drake. Having a can't block is kind of nice on the Gem Dragon, but the Cloud Drake's what really gets the ball rolling for this opposing deck.
Good morning.
Now let's attack with everybody. We should be able to get the Shyvana out in this combat, right? She can most certainly like block something and strike down the edge, but I think we should get an Eye of the Storm to take her down. Not quite ready to just go all in with the Eye of the Storm. On just for damage, right? Nice. Not a bad round.
Another day guarding the walls.
And I'm just going to go ahead and prank. This just strikes me as one of these spots to where we're not going to need it for the discard, and we're going to be flooded on board. Like, it's nice in this place that we can play Yuumi and not take up a space, because otherwise we're just going to completely fill out, even with his 2 challengers, right? He's going to challenge down Fizz and challenge down Bandle Commando. He can play other random dude, Mage Seeker and Inquisitor, and get a 3rd one, but I think we're good this way. Says that's too much. That's too much, bust. You boomed me even without the Yordles in arms. G.
Hey, how come they're not
So I had this come up over my break, and so the kind of the way things went, or the kiddo got sick, and then the wife got super sick, and then as soon as the wife's sickness like tailed off, my body was like, okay, bust, you can stop taking care of the family now. it's time for you to just get sick. It's like, it's just like such a wild moment the way it panned out. Is like, as soon as she was like, okay, I'm feeling good now, my body was like, good, you're done. It's your turn to take a moment off. But where this is going is I had a delightful bowl of ramen noodles last night, and I don't know how frequently you all eat ramen noodles. It's one of those things that's just going to be like forever good to me, because that's what I ate all through my childhood. Like, I just used to eat ramen noodles for breakfast, and then we get to college and you're poor, and so you just continue eating ramen noodles. And now that I'm old and actually catch a decent paycheck, it turns out ramen noodles still taste good. But the way I make them the correct way is you boil the water. Once the water's boiling, you put the noodles in for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, you drain it, and then you we have to threaten with the kelp maidens here. After that 3 minutes, you put the salt packets or whatever they are on top, and that's when you add the flavors. So you just put the flavor packet directly on to the noodles. It's fucking delicious. Now, my wife is a bit of a wildcat, if you will, in the sense that she eats her ramen noodles completely wrong.
You best believe
Number
I
one,
don't
she'll just eat them straight out of the package, right? I thought that I was marrying a person of reasonably sound mind, and then you're not into it for a year or two until you find out that they'll just fucking raw dog ramen noodles right out of the package uncooked. But she also does it more like the soup method, if you will, as to where you actually make like the broth or whatever and try and eat them that way. It's fucking nonsense if you ask me, but to each their own. Enjoy whatever you enjoy. And so while she was sick, that was one of the things that she decided, sounds tasty, like, ooh, maybe I'll eat some ramen noodles today and it'll be pretty good. And so I was like, all right, well, you can do that, but you have to tell me how to cook them. I don't know how to cook them your stupid ass way with all the water in it. She's like, what do you really need instructions? Do I really have to explain this to you like herpity derpity? Turns out, yes, you do. Because I did it. I boiled the water, I pulled the packets in, put the noodles in, let them... we should have just passed here. That was just like such a nonsense trying to get that free 1 mana out of the Protoporo. But turns out I did it wrong, is where long story shorting this one is. I walked by her later and I was like, did I do the ramen noodles wrong? You didn't eat any of them. And she was like, yeah, it tastes like dirty water. So I guess you can do it wrong. But that's all I was thinking last night as I was preparing my ramen noodles. It's just dirty water that you got going here. Alright, so what are we doing? How are we going to actually win this game? We need to get Elusives on board, and we need to play Yordles in Arms, and so we can get like some of this stuff out of the way. We can maybe do a little bit of a block like this. Like, I guess it's a fair question in that, can we ever actually kill or ever actually stop a Darius? And probably not. But I think we can prevent a little bit of damage here. Then we're going to look to Telstone out the Omen Hawk.
Mustache ready.
I don't think we can lose our... Well... We haven't played Freylord, or we've played Vandal City Freylord, so the Octo Adventure is going to get us up to Yordles in Arms. This is 2, and 5 is 7. He's just going to play a Sky Splitter here is what's a problem. He's going to Sky Split on the Vandal City Mayor. Ooh. Okay. The other thing we can look at is potentially, if he takes it too slow, removing Overwhelm off of Darius with the Explorer's Blunder. So let's see, we can Yordles in Arms here. That's of course not enough. It's going to be 9 from the Yordles in Arms plus 4. But I think this is okay. Do we even want to go for the Tellstones onto the Omen Hawk? It depends on who he blocks. Like, if he just trades with the Kelp Maidens, it's probably okay. If he gets to Hawk the Bandle Commando, that feels kind of bad. Alright. So let's see if we can get the Dum-Dum off the board. Crash in for a bit of damage here. Get the bird off of the Bandle Commando. Play it. Play the Explorer's Blunder. See if that's enough. And we do have a 4 health blocker to put in front of a Darius. What is this? What is this, Darius Gnar? Casting fast speed spells? Pirouette. Seems like a terrible pirouette. We're never attacking with the mayor, but... Okay.
Serving less?
So yeah, not feeling good about this. Our kind of saving grace here is decisive maneuver isn't that great. If he has a Darius, Darius is like the only card he can play on the turn. And so I think we're gonna survive this. Alright, Darius is a 10 overwhelm. We can put the Octo in front of him and we'll only take 6. We're gonna take 1 off of the Saboteur. So we gotta get a unit down at this point. We have to block everything on this attack.
None shall oppose me.
I think we're still gonna be short on damage. Whoa, I was like, whoa, is this just Darius? Whoa, I am on board with that.
Absolutely. Top hole.
We're gonna lose another elusive here. I just don't think we're gonna have enough stuff to get out of this. How does this look? Yeah, we have to block everything. As like, can we give the Octo Adventure a point of health and then still protect our elusives to get out of this? And it's just not quite enough. I guess we'll still give it to the Octo Adventurer so we don't die to a random pirouette. But I think we're still just going to be way short. If we had the second elusive on board, right, we could draw an elusive next turn and get up to 9 damage from the Yordles in arms. And so it gets us much closer to a real kill, but doesn't look like it's going to come through here. We'll still see what we draw for the turn.
I should make a speech.
And see, this is what I was talking about earlier, right? Yuumi costs 2 in hand. We have the Bandle City Mayor on board. We're gonna play cards that don't matter, and then, right? You see how Yuumi like costs 3 mana on the attach? Has it always been like that? I don't know. I don't know if it's always been like that or not. See, now it drops his cost down to up to 3. Very strange. Very strange. Naito, GG. Well played. Let's get one more battle in. Get some more of that dirty ramen noodle water up here. Man, one of my great regrets in life was like not realizing how easy it was to make ramen noodles like super, super good. Like I'm on board with just eating 2 packs of ramen noodles and calling it a day. Like that's the easiest dinner in the world. But it's just like so easy to put like 2 fried eggs and then like just random scallions or something on top, even just like dried ones or whatnot. That's what dinner was last night, just 2 fried eggs on top of ramen noodles. Got your sauce packets in there. Hit it with a little bit of the chives, you know, the dried scallions, and call it a day. Fucking choice. Nice little. If you're one of those, I always see the random picture of like some dude that's trying to get into weightlifting or bodybuilding or whatever, and he's afraid to put spices on stuff because he doesn't want to waste the 9 calories in terms of his daily caloric intake. But it's just a picture of just like fucking white as shit uh, baked chicken breast next to some broccoli or something. It's like, oh no, oh no, I've been down that road. You don't have to take it that far. It's definitely not worth it.
Joy is a good look in a book.
All right, let's see how this goes. We'll get the Norra on board. She should be able to attack. You know, if he was going to Omen Hawk, he would have Omen Hawked on 1. If he's going to Omen Hawk on 2, then the Norra should still survive it. But no, the ramen noodles, if you're into that, the very easy way to get a bunch of calories on the day for you is to do the ramen noodles and 2 eggs. It's just under 900 calories, and then, or just over 900 calories, and it does typically cost like $3. So it's a very easy one to get into your diet zone.
Baddies beware, Mama's got a gun.
But all right, how we handling in this? Like, I think we're stuck having to block Zed at this point. We're like multiple attacks away from being able to get a lethal in, and so I think that that's okay. The question's like, do we really want to give up on something like Kelp Maidens in this space, given that the Kelp Maidens is going to give more damage, but getting these multiple Bandle Commando kind of things is quite strong. Let's see. This should also be our second Norra portal coming in. Spiking a Norra portal next turn is a guarantee with Eye of the Storm, and so I think this is okay.
Then a hop. I wonder.
What you got, Prank? All Saurions all the time? All right. Manageable. Manageable. So we can save the Eye of the Storm for next turn now. What's dealing damage? Can still prevent the Zed flips. I don't think we have to worry about direct damage. Like, being at 2, how's he going to deal 2? I guess he could play a combat trick in this attack. That's probably worth fighting against. Can we even deal 11 next turn though? Like 2, 3, 4, 5 with units on board, 6 with the Octo Adventurer, 7, 8 with Eye of the Storm takes him to 3. What do we die to here? Wuju style? Alright. I guess this has to deal 2. Like, Sky Splitter doesn't do it. It has to be Wuju style is on the menu, right? Yeah. Alright. Guess we should have blocked. What would we have picked up? We could have played Heroic Refrain off of that. We just needed to pick up 3 points of damage, and we would have had a few draws at it. We would have had the 2 draws off of the spell, 2 draws off of the turns. So if we're just looking for blowback or Heroic Refrain, I don't know. I think the idea there was okay, but like, Heroic Refrain would have gotten us that extra point of damage, right? As to where blowback would have only dealt 3, and we would have been short if we were only going to attack him down to 4 instead of 3. We would have needed that spell, but maybe there would have been something else we could have picked up there. But nonetheless, we could pull it up, talk about it a little bit more. Not the most compelling of records, but we did smash through the actual games where we cast Yordles and Arms, right? And so it is a potential thing here. Again, like the big downside to trying to play Yordles and Arms now, as opposed to Yordles and Arms decks in the day of old, is you're used to be playing with the Daring Poro package, and there was a lot of tie-ins with the Daring Poro package, but the big thing with it was it made it very easy for you to get multiple 1/1 elusives onto the board, and so having this board of 4 and 5 elusives wasn't that challenging to pull off. Now we're in a little bit of a different space as to where the quantity of elusives that you can get on board isn't as high, but the quality is much higher, now having access to things like Skip and Kelp Maidens, but it's still kind of a tough space to fit it in. But at the end of the day, we did get a few games in against the various Curses decks. You could see how it functioned and how it did well there. When your opponent's interactivity goes down, the quality of this style of deck just goes up through the roof. And so when your opponent's interactivity is especially bad and ignorable, like a lot of the Curses can be, if you aren't playing a curve deck, right, the Curses can be quite ignorable. This is something that can really dive in and take advantage of that. And so while we didn't have the most successful run, this is honestly, not the most successful deck that you could ever be running. I think the idea here is good, and it really kind of drives home that idea and that point of how do I attack down these Morgana decks and attack down these Elder Dragon decks and the Mordekaiser decks. They're all the same deck if you ask me. That's, not playing singularly important units, getting board width, and then finding a way to boost all of your board width. They have a very tough time dealing with that, and this is another reasonable way to try and chase down that goal. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way. You had a good time watching. This is Bustin' Me. Thank you for being here.